presentations and can kind of just give you some basic information on the industry is in general terms, because obviously you guys are going to be spending a lot of time on mining, mineral processing, aggregate industry. So I have a few different presentations that I'm gonna pull a few slides from and kind of jump around a little bit. We're going to review the three barrier solution again, because I know that is a pretty big focus of where you guys are going with some of your efforts there. And then I'm going to show you where there's some additional resources that will be taking place around the whole mining and aggregate industry, because we have a ton of information that you can draw from depending on what particular customers might want or need, or what opportunities might come up. So that's kind of how we're going to go here for the next 45 minutes or so. So just in general terms, you can see here from a few of these bullet points that the actual maintenance of mining and mineral processing equipment is a pretty good cost element to how cement manufacturers and aggregate manufacturers operate. It's either over 20% of the cost in manufacturing cement comes from the actual maintenance itself that occurs. And obviously you guys are going to get into a period here where plants are going to be shutting down to do that maintenance. So it's a great opportunity to go in and see if we can close some business there. This issue here, this safety issue, that a third of all accidents occur while maintenance is going on, a lot of that has to do with people not having the right tools to do the job. So when you look at like our maintenance products truck that I had out that Glenn worked on, that has some different types of pullers and things on it that not only make their jobs easier to do, but when they do it with the right tools, it's a safety issue as well. So safety in these aggregates and mining areas, these companies, is a pretty big deal to them. They're all regulated, or most of them are regulated by MSHA, which is a mining organization that oversees the safety of these things. So safety can definitely be something to focus on. So just some ideas there in terms of the fact that there is some real opportunities to help maybe eliminate some maintenance costs, and also to improve safety with some of the different tools and products that we have. So in general, these are the areas where the quote industry problems that aggregate, cement, mining, mineral processing have. And obviously, all the products that we're talking about help to address these common problems and hopefully overcome them. The harsh operating conditions, lubrication, reliability, all those things that go into driving up maintenance costs. We have some things that can help to reduce those costs. Hard to maintain equipment, it's hard to get at sometimes. Again, we talk about that injury thing. A lot of guys climbing up on conveyors to either change bearings or lubricate them or what have you. There's definitely some injury risk there. So if we can eliminate them by using different types of products like this three-barrier solution that we're going to talk about, then obviously that's a good thing. High lubricant consumption. There's a ton because of the environment that they're in, wet, dirty, abrasive, all that stuff. There's definitely high lubrication costs. So there's some opportunities there to help reduce that, as well as, again, the injury risks, the environmental issues, those types of things. And then this little warning of impending problems. This is where you could be talking about some of the different types of monitoring equipment that we have, whether it's the services that you guys offer with the reliability program, whether it's our Copperhead system, which is a monitoring system that's more like an online system that I'll show you where you can get some information on that. We'll talk about that just a little bit here as well. So let's look at a few of I'm going to skip through some of this stuff, but some of this stuff we're going to talk about a little bit more, and I'll show you where you can get more information. Obviously, there's a lot of different solutions that we can bring to the industry. So today was really more about kind of not only reviewing the 3-barrier, but just to kind of remind you of all the different things that are out there for different applications, and then show you where you can find that information if it comes up while you're talking to your customers. So, we talked about our basic bearing offerings, bearings for the vibrating applications. So screen bearings, we have a full line of vibrating screen bearings. I think you guys probably have some of ours in stock. Certainly you have some other brands as well. But that is certainly an option there. The seal bearings, that's part of the 3-barrier solution that we're going to talk about there. So you get the regular double row spherical roller bearing with the seals there. That's part of that 3-barrier solution that we're going to talk about. There's different types of housings out there. In one of the other training classes that we did, we went over the Concentra unit roller product as well as the SYAF units, and I'll just touch on that briefly again too, just as a reminder there. Also, as part of the 3-barrier solution, when you get up into the larger sizes, there's also the adapter sleeves that are drilled for hydraulic removal. So basically the way these work is that you've got an adapter sleeve here, the bearing goes up on there and is mounted right over this groove, and then these ports are drilled into it so that when they want to take the bearing off, what they do is they just back off the lock nut a little bit and inject hydraulic fluid in here, and the bearing just pops off. So from a removal standpoint on adapter sleeves, the sleeves with the oil injection can be really helpful. And then obviously we've got all the different types of sealing options, both from what used to be CR, that's now the SKF seals. We have the Nylos rings, which for anybody that might not be familiar with them, these are basically an external seal that is, depending on the arrangement, is actually run in. There's a groove that's run in either to the inner or the outer ring, and it provides an extra level of sealing in harsher environments. So that we've had this product line for probably a good 15, 20 years. The Speedy Sleeve, this is basically a product where if you've got seals that are running directly on a shaft, a lot of times they'll form grooves in the shaft. The Speedy Sleeve can be used to kind of repair that surface, not necessarily repair it, but cover up that groove so that you won't get leakage from your seals there. The other thing that's not on this slide, but just as a reminder, we have our machine seals group out in Cleveland, which is part of our solution factory. I know some people know more about that than others, but basically what that one group does out there is it can take pretty much any type of seal design and either make up a special seal based on the application, or sometimes there's seals that might be a one-off type seal that's not available. They can reverse engineer it and hog it out of a plastic tube material. Basically what we do is we have about 25 different materials that we can make seals out of at the solution factory in Cleveland. They'll create a CAD drawing of a seal, so we could either send them a drawing or send them a seal they'll make a CAD drawing, they load it right into their CAD machine, and can hog a seal out in literally a day or so. So there's certainly some opportunities there for sealing in this industry. Lubrication, we've bought a number of different lubrication companies over the years. So whether it's looking at a type of automatic system, or there's a lot of guys out there using these single point lubricators in different applications. We talked about the idea of safety and things. If they can put these on once a year, for instance, and not have to worry about going up in a hard to reach area or a hazardous area to relubricate, then that certainly helps both with grease consumption as well as safety and productivity. So certainly some opportunities there. And then service, we talked about the idea of the reliability program that you guys offer, certainly from a data collection standpoint. There's also a lot of different types of tools that are available out there to make their machine run better, or help with installation. So for instance, some different types of alignment tools, whether it's a belt alignment tool or a shaft alignment tool. We talked about the adapter sleeves there. As you get bigger, having the ports that are drilled for hydraulic removal. We also have these hydraulic nuts that can help actually push the bearing up. Basically, what these are pistons that you put in place of the regular nut that would normally be used to push the bearing up an adapter sleeve. When you get from about 4 and 15 up, there's an awful lot of effort that goes into being able to push that bearing up enough and push it up properly to mount it right on the adapter sleeve. So hydraulic nuts, along with the pumps that we have, can help to not only increase the reliability by making sure it's mounted properly, but it'll save them a lot of time as well. Copperhead, we're going to show you just some basic information on that in a couple minutes here. So when you kind of look at all the different types of equipment that are out there in the mining and mineral processing industry, we really have some type of product that has features and benefits that are going to help in any of these applications. For the most part, probably you're seeing more in just the basic aggregate. You're seeing conveyors, crushers, and screens probably for the most part. But certainly there's other applications out there that the products can fit into. I'm going to go to up here for a second. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into, this is right in PT Place. You guys all have access to PT Place, right? Individual sign-ons or everything? Okay. I've done this once before, but I thought it was probably a good opportunity to go back and just show you and remind you where you can find an awful lot of information all in one spot. So this is the basic sign-on here. I'm at the basic sign-in page for PT Place. So if any of you guys go in to sign on, you sign on to the SKF store, this is what you should see first. Is that what you see first, hopefully? Okay. So if you go into distributor community here, this is basically a site where you as our distributor can go and get a ton of information on just about anything right from here. So if you go into industry solutions here, we've got information on every one of these industries here. So regardless of what you're going to talk about or what kind of customer you're going to see, you can realistically come here as a start to look at what might be out there and see what might be applicable for any particular customer. So if we're talking, so here we're talking about aggregate or cement, we call it mining, mineral processing, and cement. We kind of roll it into one aggregate area that we call. So if you go into processes, just go into mining and quarrying here, because that's, I think, a majority of what you guys will be looking at here. So in here, it'll give you some very, you can go in and look at pretty much any type of application. So we'll look at bulk conveyors, because that's probably going to be a pretty big focus. And then for bulk conveyors, it will give you a quick overview of what conveyors are generally doing and kind of what they're, what kind of environment that they're running in. And then it'll show you all of the different things that might be of interest for your customer in the bulk conveyor area. So we're talking about the 3-barrier solution. Goes through and talks about kind of what that is, kind of what the benefits, and then you can click on here, what are the benefits of it.
Are the PDFs available from here?
Yes. There's a couple different places you can get the PDFs. I'll show you where they are. This is more of a general PDF here. So again, this is just an area where you can go in and depending on who you're going to talk to and what you might be talking about, or this might give you an idea of maybe some things to go and talk about with a particular customer. This is a great place to start in terms of looking at that. The other thing that I think is part of the program that you guys are going to be talking about is are you going to have the 360 sheets in the handouts, or are you doing them online, or you're not sure yet?
They're going to be available to the guys.
Okay.
In a handout.
Okay. Okay. If we go back to where we started here. find the 360 sheets.
I remember one time there was a link directly from that
Yeah, there was,
page.
they changed it a little bit.
Once you go over to the brochures, does it drop down to the 360s?
Where's that?
Just where you work in marketing, and then go across to catalogs and brochures?
What?
I don't know if it takes you to them there or not. There you go.
I like the way we had it set up before. Like that. I'm gonna work on getting a link for those 360s because I'm
Okay.
hopefully that's set up there. But the idea there was that you could pull up any 360 sheet, and the 360 sheets are basically one page, front and back sheets that will focus in on a particular either product or solution for particular industries. So for like the mining and mineral processing industry, I think we have about 6 to 8 360 sheets that you'll have access to, that you can walk into a customer, say, hey, how about, let's talk about this, or do you have this issue, or I have a solution that might help you if you have this problem. Those are what the 360 sheets are set up to do. Let's see if I have one here.
Is anybody not familiar with 360s?
I thought they were on your
You seen them, Doug?
homepage.
Huh?
Yeah, I had them all on.
They are, but it looks like they changed the way that they,
Yeah, I used to be able to find them.
and I'm not sure why they moved it around a little bit here, but, just to give you an idea of what a 360 sheet looks like for anybody that may not have seen one. So we have, again, for mining and mineral processing, it'll say up in here, where it says fans and blowers, it'll say mining and mineral processing. It'll have some type of either a product or a solution for that particular item that we're talking about. A brief description of it with the benefits of it, typical applications, and then generally some type of a story, either that was a savings story or an increased productivity story as to what a particular customer used for or enjoyed the advantages of for that particular product or solution. So that's what the 360s looks like, and that's what you'll have access to for any number of different products in that area.
Reggie, is that something we should put up on the website?
Yeah, we should probably have at least pick some.
Okay. Pat, helped me pick out some on Friday, from our book. Brenda's going to, ship those to us.
Okay, Doug, did you get with her? Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're pretty easy to read, so that's a big deal.
Those on our website as well. Reggie's creating the FLINTSTONE, website for us.
Okay.
So are they not on the SKF website currently, Pat?
They're out there somewhere,
Somewhere.
honestly, I'm just not sure where they
They started.
moved them to, so I will make sure that, we to that link or get you to, of how you can find them. All right, so I just went into the section here on services, or actually on reference cases. So for instance, if we look at Copperhead, basically what Copperhead is, and I can show you something on it, but Copperhead is a monitoring system that basically goes right on, say, either a shake, usually on a shaker screen. Goes right on a shaker screen, and it monitors it constantly. So you actually attach sensors to the different bearing housings. Here's a 360 on Copperhead. So again, it talks about where you generally will see what the benefits are for having a monitoring system like that. Typical applications. Basically, what it is it's a sensor that's permanently mounted on the screen, either on the screen itself or usually on the bearing housings. It's a transmitter. Here, this is the actual accelerometer that's mounted either right on the housing, generally on the bearing housing, and then there's a transmitter here that actually does the monitoring. And then they can either have it as a standalone unit, or they can run this package through a PLC. What it does is it enables them to monitor not necessarily, or not only just bearing faults, but other things that might be happening with the screen. If it's got bad springs, if it's bottoming out, there's a lot of different issues that can occur with the shaker screens. So this allows them to monitor the machinery on a regular basis. So you can see we don't even, in our first 3 sentences here, we don't even talk about bearing issues around the screen. Most people actually, if you try and talk to a customer about this type of system and you lead with, I have a system that can help you monitor your bearings on your screens, most of them are going to say, I don't have problems with my bearings on my screens. So it kind of shuts you down quick, but you want to look at some of the other things that affect how the screen operates. Things like this, the rotor having excessive wear, or a rotor that might cause bearing damage, or if you have a loose blow bar or loose springs, things like that. So it's more of a question of, do you have issues with your screens, not necessarily do you have bearing issues with your screens. Because generally there's other issues that are more important than bearings, or that cause them more problems than just the bearings. So that's the Copperhead. Again, it kind of gives you a one-page overview of what it is. And then here, just a little story here. A major aggregate producer can't count the number of times this Copperhead system could save their horizontal shaft impactors from failure. So they were running this through their PLC system. They'd get an alert, and then they'd go out and make corrections to it before it failed catastrophically or failed at a time when you're right in the middle of making a run there. And again, you can go in here and look through any number of those different types of cases that are out there for helping with different issues around this particular industry. All right. through up to the 3 barrier solution here. And then we can take a little closer look at what actually comes in the 3 barrier solution so that you're comfortable in going out and talking about it. And I'll come back to that if it makes sense, just to get it through that as well. All right, I'm gonna turn one of these lights on here. So if you recall, when we've talked about the 3 barrier solution, it's basically set up for areas where they're tougher conveyor applications, generally either from a hard to reach area or from a contamination area. So those are just some of the different types of conveyors that you might see the opportunity to maybe put a 3 barrier solution on. And we talked about what are the problems: the harsh environment, hard to maintain, hard to lubricate, all that stuff that goes along with this particular industry in these applications. So the 3 barrier solution, sealed spherical, split pole block housing. Fill the grease, the housing with grease, and the PosiTrack Plus seals. So let's talk just a little bit about what your customer would expect to see and what you'll see when you would get a 3 barrier solution. So this, again, we talked about before. This is ordered as a kit, as a kitted part number. I think the handout you have there has the actual part numbers in front of you there. Where do we go from 2 and 7? Yeah, so 2 and 7 up to 7 and 15. So Matt, that was good that they were asking for 2 and 7 over.
Yes, say that again, Pat, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that range.
2 and 7 to 7 and 15.
I'll take this up to him too, just so he knows that.
Yeah, I don't know if I gave him that one. I think I gave him the other one. But yeah, that would be good to.
Do you have any extras of those today, Pat?
Yeah, you guys should have a bunch of them here still.
I couldn't, I think I took the wrong one last.
They're actually right there.
Here's a pile.
Oh, thanks. Good one.
Hey! What? Get off your hands.
Huh?
So,
You're
um,
man enough, bring it on.
So one part number, all self-contained into one box. Now, I will tell you this, we did have a minor issue. Obviously, when we get into larger sizes, we don't necessarily have a box that fits everything. We're supposed to be skidding them and wrapping them into one
Yes.
part number, but we apparently haven't done that consistently. We're working on that. But apparently you guys got in a couple larger sizes that had some that were in individual components rather than the kit as one part number. And I guess one of the warehouse guys, I guess they said just find a box that can fit that and put it in there. And he grabbed the Timken box and put all of our stuff in it and wrote our part number on the outside. So we're working on that, but that's really, it's not a huge issue actually, but just if you hear that story or hear some issues with packaging, that's what's going on. So you get the SKF sealed spherical. I don't know that I want to take this out of the box because I would rather not. But you get the SKF sealed spherical. You get the adapter sleeve assembly. Get the stab ring and the spacer ring if needed. There is a whole set of instructions in here, which nobody generally reads anyway. And then you get the actual housing. Okay. Now in here are the basic, the ring seals, the LOR basic ring seals, but then they also get this extra element here, these two elements, which are the what we call the PosiTrack Plus. Basically what that is the normal pillow block housing just comes with this LOR ring seal here. This PosiTrack Plus here is this component that rides on this, that rides right here, that sits in the housing that provides another barrier of contaminant exclusion.
You're talking about the double lip seal?
Well,
I'm
what
sorry,
it
I wasn't
it's the ring seal.
Yeah.
And then this goes on the middle groove there.
Yeah, a lot of the guys weren't here, it used to be that middle groove was the same height. as
Yeah,
the
that was
others.
right, a long time, yeah. And that was, what Glenn's talking about is, we used to make this basic ring seal here, it was called an LER, and all three were the same size across here. But about, probably more than 10 years ago, we redesigned our ring seals and we call them LOR ring seals now. Same dimensions and everything, except that this middle rib here is lower to allow for us to put in this rubber contact element and provide extra sealing capacity. So that's what Glenn's talking about there, referring to. One other note, on the ring seals themselves, we also added a little O-ring here on the board. If the customer says, yeah, those things are such a hassle, they're a pain, I hate them, just tell them to take them out. Unless they're using oil, they don't need that. We just put that in there in case somebody is running oil, it keeps oil from running out of the housing down the shaft. So if they're running any kind of split pillow lock on grease, which everybody that we're talking to here is going to be running on grease for this conveyor or this program here, you can tell them they don't really need that over in there.
When Pat says they're running on grease, guys, in most cases, these SAF style, especially, whether it's the standard SAF or the 3-barrier solution, they're operating anywhere from 60 RPMs to maximum a couple hundred RPMs in the aggregates. So really what you're doing, heat is not an issue. Okay, what you're really trying to do with this grease, and it's sort of counterintuitive, is you're pumping this, that third barrier being the grease that you're putting into the cavity of the housing, you're actually pumping that so you're purging it to keep the crap that's either gotten in or that once again, and it's out. I mean, so sort of counterintuitive to when you say, well, geez, too much lubricate, too much grease is going to cause friction and heat. In this case, it's not.
It's not because of the temperature, because of the speeds that it's running at. So again, just as a review here, the PosiTrack Plus seal on the outside there, filling the cavity of the housing anywhere from 60 to 80%, and then that sealed spherical that's inside there. And again, once they put this on, they're not going to touch it again. They don't have to re-lubricate it. They certainly can put more grease in there if they want and purge it out if they think maybe there's some contamination that's getting in there. But for the most part, they don't have to. You can see here at the bottom, the bottom of the housing here, they can open this up and purge it out if they want to, but not necessary.
Pat, with the, in terms of purging, when you've been specifically out, and I know this is a relatively new product for you, correct? What would you think about if you said to the customer, if you're doing a weekly maintenance, to purge the grease that's in there and refill it anew? Wouldn't bother?
Sorry.
I honestly wouldn't know.
Dave from Bell Services.
Oh, good.
Wouldn't wouldn't bother?
I would, only because it sort of defeats the idea of what we're telling them in terms of, hey, it's maintenance free, don't worry about this
Okay,
anymore.
okay.
Particularly on a weekly basis, I wouldn't.
Yeah, whatever
I
the
would
main- okay.
think, I mean, maybe if you wanna tell them every, once a year, if on their shutdown, if they wanna clean it all out and repack it.
I just worry, you know, that I'm gonna have a customer who has had just brutal experience, is gonna look at me and go,
Mhm.
bullshit.
Oh, it's very possible. It's
And they will.
It's just like when we came up with our marathon unit for the food industry 10+ years ago and told them, put it on and don't lubricate it, and they went, that'll never work. You know, so yeah, you're definitely fighting a level of, I don't believe you because
Okay.
it's never worked for me. Yeah, at that point, sometimes you say, hey, well, just, if you want to lubricate it, go ahead, it's not gonna hurt anything.
So then, it would make sense to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if we're gonna fill it 60 to 80% and say it's gonna be maintenance free, then would we want them to use an automatic lubricator on that?
No, they don't even need to.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm wondering, I mean,
No,
because
not at all.
we're pushing both automatic lubricators and then we
Right.
go,
So it kinda
we
depends
really don't
on
need it for this.
What the, yeah,
If you're not gonna change your other SAS, well, yeah, go ahead.
exactly.
Okay, okay, I get it.
Yep. Yep. And just from an idea of kind of where we're looking at this, some of you guys may know, some may not. Dodge pretty much dominates the aggregate industry, with their housings on these conveyors. So these are all perfect drop-ins in terms of the, what we call the base center line height, which is the height from the base up to the center line of the housing here, and then also the bolt hole spacings here. So this here. And so these are perfect drop-ins for the for any Dodge split pole block houses, regardless of the bearing they have in there. Some of the SAFs might have, some from Dodge might have spherical roller bearings like we do. Some of them might have some tapers in there. But in terms of the load and speed capabilities in these conveyor applications, these are perfect drop-ins. So really kind of would be kind of focused around looking for those types of housings that we could drop right in here. And there is a 360 for that. Here's where I said up here we'll have mining and mineral processing, and then there will be a 360 sheet that goes over exactly what the solution is, what its benefits are, and where the applications are. So for the 3 barrier or conveyor applications, head pulleys, tail pulleys, take-up pulleys, bed pulleys, and vertical gravity take-up pulleys. So again, pretty much anywhere where you're moving product from one area of the mill or the site to another area. And I'm assuming that you probably ordered this one as
I'll
well.
make sure I did, I wrote that number down.
Okay. But yeah, if you did, you definitely want to make sure you have this one included as well. And then just as a note, because these are, in general, normally what you do with a spherical roller bearing is you, as you push it up the adapter sleeve, you measure the internal clearance with feeler blades. The fact that the bearing is sealed, you can't measure the internal clearance with feeler blades. So part of the instructions that are in here actually goes through the different methods here that we're talking about in terms of how to mount these bearings.
Does it give the end user the amount of torque that they need to put on that, or the amount of, what are the instructions specifically?
These are instructions for these two drive-up methods.
Okay,
And basically, what this drive-up method is based on the size of the bearing, they're using a hydraulic nut,
okay,
okay?
and they're telling you,
And you use a hydraulic pump that has a digital pressure gauge.
okay,
So for each bearing size, it gives you how much pressure you need to apply to the bearing.
good,
And then you zero it out, you put a dial indicator on, and it tells you how far you have to push it up the adapter sleeve in order to achieve that.
good,
For the smaller sizes, when you talk about a size like this, where you're not going to be, using a hydraulic nut, then we tell them to use the angle method. Basically what the angle method is when they put the bearing on the adapter sleeve
yes,
and start to turn the lock nut here, okay? You put a screwdriver on the adapter sleeve and you start tightening the lock nut. And once the lock nut grabs on the adapter sleeve enough where you can't move the adapter sleeve with the screwdriver, kind of sticks on the shaft.
okay,
Then you go another half turn, 180 degrees.
isn't that great?
And that achieves the drive up enough.
That's amazing,
And this angle method is in our installation and maintenance guide,
okay,
as are these two
Yep.
as well.
great.
And this actually is kind of hard for you to see here, but this is actually the instructions that are in there. So it actually talks about the three methods: the angle, the actual drive up, and the SKF drive up. And this is the angle method. This is the whole set of instructions. This is the axial drive up, and these are the instructions for the drive up with the pressure gauge. So they're all right in there. Hopefully they don't open up the box and go take the crap, throw it away like most people do with instructions, right? But they are in there.
It's always been a area in my work,
Yeah.
and I have problems. Honey, where are the instructions? I threw them out.
So.
I can do it.
All right, so I think coming up here just about 11 o'clock. Are there any questions on either the three barrier or finding that information? I'll try and get a little better way to get to those 360s online if that's important for you.
Yeah, I also myself, I went to the PT place and we went through the surgery college again.
Okay.
There's one specifically on finding.
That's actually a good.
That's a good class.
Let me go there real quick here.
Oh, thanks, Craig.
Not saying you have to do it, but.
And you have to pass it into, of course.
Listen, I shut my computer down at 9 o'clock at night, I'm not working yet. Everybody was told that I can't.
9 o'clock now.
Either that or they're dead.
Be slow.
But anyway, to Craig's point, you guys might be I think you've all probably taken distributor college classes at some point or another. But there's classes in there on both product and industry. And all of them are about 35 to 45 minutes generally. And there is one it's actually similar to some of the presentation that I did today, where it'll give you some basic overview of the industry, and then some of the different solutions that we have for the industry. So it might be a good refresher class, or if you haven't taken it yet, going into this program, it might be worth the hour or so 45 minutes that might take to complete there, so.
Great.
All right. That's all I got, unless there's any
Yeah.
questions.
One
Yes.
question, Pat, the maintenance truck, are you gonna have that at all during the winter in this area? It's gonna be
South. Virginia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. It's just too unpredictable to have.
The weather.
during the winter.
Yeah, I understand.
Always get scheduled